Let's talk about the wide receivers. That's what gets people fired up, gets people horned up.
Brashard Smith, he could be thought of as more of a wide receiver.
This guy's 28 years old, and he's a seasoned veteran. He's been in the league for 25 years out of his 28 years living.
But he also plays old, and we try to get younger.
That's the thing about it, though. But does he?
You're listening to All Chiefed Up, the podcast.
Appreciate everybody joining us today. We have Bob from the Buk N Bob Podcast on to talk about the Chiefs a little bit today. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you guys. I'm honored to come on the show. This is crazy. You guys are my favorite podcast in Chiefs Kingdom. Excited to be here, man.
Let's talk about the wide receivers. That's what gets people fired up, gets people horned up. We all know the top 4 is going to be there, and a lot of people are arguing, is Juju going to make the roster at number 4? I absolutely think they'll keep Juju. They got to have the veteran presence. How many do you think they're going to keep? Do you think they're going to go back to the 7 spot, or do you think they're going to drop it all the way down to possibly 5, or do you think they hit the sweet spot right there at 6?
So Juju, just real quick on that, they're going to keep Juju because I don't know that anybody's left on the roster that's going to do the dirty work. You know, it was Juju and Watson and Moore, and I don't think Moore makes the roster. So Juju's got to be there to do the dirty work. The wide receiver room is crazy weird right now. I think for sure we know the top 3, and then I think Juju's 4. The thing that could change up what we do at wide receiver is Brashard Smith. He could be thought of as more of a wide receiver than a running back, at least for this first year or two. He really could. I think he's a lot like Brian Westbrook. I said it as soon as we drafted him. I looked up all of his stuff. I looked up his size, weight. He's literally the same height, weight as Westbrook. And I think he might have the same type of role starting out. A lot of people forget Brian wasn't a great runner at the start, but he was a great catcher, a great receiver in his first couple of years. Then he turned into a legit all-purpose back killer. I don't know that Brashard Smith will ever do that, but I think they want to bring him in for that Williams role, McKinnon role. I think they want to do that. So that could take a receiver off the board and have an extra running back on the board, in my opinion. Everybody's talking about Tyquan Thornton, but I don't know, man. You got to see when the pads are on. He was a 2nd-round pick. So wide receiver room, that's going to be a fun competition to watch.
You know, you made some light bulbs go off in my head just now because you said something that no one's really discussed. But I want to bring up another player that was very similar to Brashard Smith that we had a couple years back. We got him as a UDFA, and that was Jerrion Ealy. He was also that dual threat back. He was a small guy. He was running back. He was basically a wide receiver in a running back position. And if you go back to that camp, and maybe even the camp after that, they kept him around for a while on the practice squad. This was a guy that they would often list as a wide receiver on the roster. And I wonder if they might start doing that with Brashard Smith, because if you think about it as a whole, you want the best 53 football players you have when you get those final cuts down, right? No matter which way you have to slice it, it's going to be that way with defensive backs too, I think, with safety and corner, because we got a lot of guys there that can do both. But I just kind of wonder if maybe they do only go with 6 wide receivers, or they even go with 7. I wonder if Brashard Smith might be slotted in at that last wide receiver position, and that would allow it to look a little bit better to have Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Elijah Mitchell, and then keep Carson Steele on the squad as well. That's a big-time possibility, and I've never really thought about it.
But does it matter? Isn't it just semantics? Like, I don't think
it is, but
I don't
it's
think
also
Andy's
how they're going to
scared
use
to
them.
take 5 running backs.
I'm not either, but also it's how they're going to use them, because I think, what if a lot of people thought Brashard Smith's going to be this running back? He's going to come in and be a running back. What if they don't use him that way? What if they use him as a wide receiver? That's a big-time possibility.
Well, and you just made me think about something. I know Tyreek Hill came in, and he was listed running back. Then for one season in fantasy, he had the tag, and I don't know if it was all fantasy sites, but on ESPN, he had the tag running back / wide receiver. And I could play him at either slot like he was a freaking flex.
That's cheating, bro.
Positions. Well, and then also on ESPN, the other guy that was like that was Dexter McCluster.
Yeah.
He also, for 1 year, was classified as both. That's interesting. Because
Right.
you're talking about Carson, And Carson, I mean, a lot of people think he's going to get cut, but during all of OTAs, according to Matt Derrick, he's been working out with the tight ends.
I think they can use him as an H-back.
Yeah, is he trying to make him a full-time fullback, part-time halfback, and tight end?
Andy wants to get back to like an H-back position. And
like a Blake Bell.
Yes, and Carson still can absolutely do that. I go back and forth over Juju. Is he a lock to make the team? Or,
I think so.
He's young, but he's old, right? He's like 29, but he looks like he's 59.
That's a good thing, though, right?
I heard you say
But
that.
the thing is, check this out. What does Juju really offer the offense besides being a stopgap for the bleeding if you have tons of injuries? Because he's had 2 100-yard receiving games. In 2022, he had one with Mahomes, and then in 2024, he had one. He had 130 versus the Saints in week 5. If you take out that 130 yards, that was 56% of his entire receiving total on the year. So for the entire year, he still only had 18 receptions and only 26 targets for 200 yards. Are you telling me that cannot be replaced by a guy like Jalen Royals, and you don't want to bring in some young guys at the back end? Like, you're just so hell-bent on keeping Juju? I'm not convinced yet.
I think the production can be replaced easily, but I think there's a lot of irreplaceable stuff with Juju. You hit the nail on the head when you brought the question up. This guy's 28 years old, and he's a seasoned veteran. He's been in the league for 25 years out of his 28 years living.
But he also plays old, and we try to get younger.
That's the thing about it, though. But does he? Like, he's not going to do anything flashy.
Absolutely.
He's not going to go crazy. But I think Juju's also, he's the veteran presence in the room. Not to mention, he's a guy that Mahomes can rely on third down. He can kind of be a security blanket at the wide receiver position. We seen that the first time he played with the Chiefs in the year they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. He would hit Juju a lot of times on third down. So I think that he could be a guy that can help move the chains. And then, as Bob mentioned, he's a guy that does the dirty work. He's going to be doing a lot of the blocking, a lot of the decoys, a lot of different things like that. I think that Juju has a lot of value to him that doesn't come off on the stat sheet. And that alone, I think he makes the squad. It's just, there's too much experience in that kid. And for him to only be 28 is wild.
And just think about his dancing. I mean, how are they going to live without that, guys?
Right. Who's going to do TikTok?
True. I mean, the thing about Juju, I'm not saying to cut him, and I'm not. I'm on the fence with Juju. I'm just saying I don't know if he's invincible.
The wide receiver room is just so stacked. Like, I agree with you completely. I mean, we're in a good spot in a lot of position groups. I mean, we're getting to the point to where we're going to have guys that I think could be starters on many teams, but they're going to be playing special teams on the Chiefs, and that's a good problem to have. But will those guys be willing to play special teams? That's the thing that's a little...
Right. You're not getting that out of Juju.
Well, isn't the experience factor? It's got to be, right? Because if you look at everybody else on the squad that's a wide receiver, literally no one there has more than a year with Patrick Mahomes, except for Juju. Like, that's it. I mean, Xavier Worthy had his rookie season. Rashee Rice had his rookie season and a couple of games before he got injured. You got Hollywood Brown, who got like 4 or 5 games in at the end of the season. Juju's been with him for 2 solid seasons. I think he's got more rapport with Patrick Mahomes than anybody else in the room. So I definitely think it's like a comfort thing, right? It has to be the experience factor. And that's the only reason why I feel like he's going to make the squad. Because I'm with you, Mike. I 100% think if you're just going by production and what he can do, yeah, you can replace that. I mean, if you went by pure production or like talent-wise, you might go ahead and take Jalen Royals in his spot right now. Like, oh, well, I'll go ahead and take him over Juju, right? But I just don't know.
Right. So
I think they keep him around.
So if Jalen Royals comes in and has a very good camp and he's ahead of schedule, and you see it, and then let's say Nikko Remigio, they like him for special teams, but they also want to keep Sky Moore too. To everybody's chagrin, Andy and them want to keep Sky Moore on this roster. You're already looking at 6 deep. Nico is not going to make this team, and you're definitely not going to have Elijah Badger in them.
And they love Nico, but I mean, Nico, the problem is he's just small. I mean, and if you have so many people that can return the ball on the team, I mean, we got Noel, we got
that's the
Worthy
thing.
Supposedly is the best returner that no one knows about.
Right.
I mean, there's a good 5, on the team that can return. Do you
100%.
really keep Nico if he can't produce on O at all?
Like everybody wants to bring that up when we start talking about roster cuts. It's always like, well, he's got the special teams ability. And that's been a thing for the last few years. But I honestly think this season, there is no one going to be on this roster purely because of special teams, except for Harrison Butker, the long snapper, and the punter. That's it. I think there's way too many guys that can do the special team stuff for you to take Nikko Remigio just because he can return the football. So when you got other guys out there that can be a better receiver, that maybe it's just because they're God-given abilities or they're bigger or whatever it might be. But I mean, if it's just returning, I don't think that's how Nikko makes the roster. I don't think you can do that this year.
Well, and you look at Tyquan Thornton through the OTAs, and what I heard and what I saw on different clips is he's making catches that Nikko can't just because he's,
tall. He's like 6'2", 6'3", I think.
Yeah, he's like 5 inches taller than him, 4 inches taller than him. So, I mean, and he's also faster than him. Like, you having a returner is great, but if you've got a bunch of people that can do it, I just don't see how he makes it. And don't get me wrong. I pull for the underdogs. And, if Tobe loves him that much to talk about him constantly, then...
He was a great returner. I will say that. I think what he did last year in the return game was better than we've seen in several years. At the end of the year,
yeah. I mean, even Bill Belichick on Inside the NFL thought it was hilarious because he comes out the week or two after his first or second start. I can't remember if it was week 1 or week 2. He goes, and none of us even knew about this guy, Nikko Remigio. And I was like, all the Chiefs creators knew about him, bro. What are you talking about?
Where you been at, Bill?
Moving on to left tackle a little bit. Steve mentioned the battle there between Josh Simmons, Jalen Moore. Who do you think has the leg up right now for you?
I mean, before OTAs, I would have said for sure Jalen Moore. But the problem is Jalen Moore, we haven't seen him. It's like it's the opposite of what I thought we were going to go into in OTAs. I thought, we weren't going to see much of Josh because he was hurt, and we're going to see Jalen Moore. But it's just weird because, did they know he was hurt? Like, how is he still hurt? Did they know he was hurt when we signed him? It's a little weird. Like, it's really weird. I don't know. Is he mad because we drafted Josh? I have no clue, but it is weird that we haven't seen him. And for my understanding, we have no information as to why he's not out on the field. I think the media has even just guessed it's a injury. I don't know if anybody official has told us.
Right. I don't think I've heard anything officially about it either. He better not be mad because even as a backup, he's making $30 million in 2 years. So nothing to be mad at there. But yeah, I mean, that's a good talking point for Chiefs Kingdom right now because obviously left tackle was the sore spot for this team for several years now. I know that Orlando Brown did a kind of a bang up job over there, but they won a Super Bowl with him. The fan base absolutely hated him. They got their pitchforks out, and guess what? He was gone. And everybody was so happy about it. And now, a couple years later, the grass isn't always greener on the other side type deal. It's exactly what they've ran into here. But now it's looking hopeful because Josh Simmons, I think he had the best left tackle tape of anybody in the draft. Obviously, we got lucky. He fell to us because of the injury. But now he's ready to go for training camp. So I think it's going to be a really fun battle there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Josh Simmons win that. I think with the potential that Simmons has, if it pans out, I don't think they would hesitate to start him at left tackle and use Jalen Moore as a swing tackle, backup, whatever it might be. But some people have talked about him maybe taking the position from Juwan Taylor at right tackle, which I think is a weird talking point. I'm kind of different when it comes to Juwan Taylor. I understand everybody's upset with the penalties and this and that. I think a lot of them were unwarranted. I think that other guys in the league do the same thing. I don't know why they decided to pick on Juwan Taylor 2 years ago, but they did. But he does have a penalty problem. To me, it's more untimely holds on third down or this or that. But I think he's a pretty good right tackle. Is he worth the money he's being paid? Probably not. But I think he's the 5th highest paid right tackle in the league right now. And he's probably about like
5?
Yeah, he was number 1 at the time, but the market just keeps going up. So he's the fifth highest. But to me, he's kind of like Trey Smith, right? Like where he's probably inside the top 15, top 10 right tackles. Trey Smith at guard.
And you're talking average across the years of his contract, because I know for sure next year his cap hit would probably be the highest paid right tackle.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you're
Just
going on
yearly.
basically. Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But the thing with him is he actually did restructure so we could get D-Hop last year. A lot of people forget that. So he is willing to play ball, and he's a team player. So I'm kind of wondering if they like what he does at right tackle outside of the penalty fiasco. I wonder, he's only 26 years old. Do they look at restructuring again and keeping him there to kind of have a base, like some longevity with these guys, the cohesiveness, having guys that's been there, like you talked about with Trey Smith? I just wonder if it couldn't be something like that to where they restructure his entire contract and keep him around.
Me and Buck on our podcast are very similar to you guys. Now, we give him all kinds of crap about the false starts.
It's easy.
We make jokes and memes about it, but we do point out he's still a good tackle. If you take those out, he's a really good tackle. And yeah, he does put Trey out on an island, but that's the way their zone blocking thing works. The left tackle puts the left guard. I don't know if they restructure him, or they would have to either restructure him or drop him. That's the beauty of the Chiefs and the dynasty they're in, and people getting really used to the family atmosphere there. Getting those guys to do that type of stuff, once they've got a payday and they're rich, you saw it with Kelsey. I mean, he's willing to take lower deals. Like, it makes the NFLPA mad, but they're willing to do it. So I could definitely see that. The weirdest thing that I've heard is when people say Jalen Moore will be left tackle and Josh Simmons right tackle. I'm like, bro, I mean, if Josh Simmons works out, that's our left tackle, bro. Like, that guy's footwork is unreal. Like, that guy's going to be able to keep Mahomes safe.
Jalen Moore, if you guys remember last year, he got injured in week 16 versus the Dolphins. He actually got put on IR with a quadricep injury. So I don't know if that's what's going on right now, or like maybe that didn't heal. Maybe he's still recovering from it. Maybe it got tweaked. Maybe it's something totally different. We haven't heard a lot of info. But kind of the weird thing about that is Trent Williams was already hurt. He was filling in for Trent Williams, and the 49ers actually picked up Charlie Heck to fill the void, which is Andy Heck's son. So I like that there's a little circle there. Maybe that's how he got his name thrown back to the Chiefs. Who knows? And also people forget about Jawan Taylor a little bit. When Jawan Taylor come out and was in the draft, he actually was supposed to be a first-round pick. This kid was considered the best right tackle in the draft and maybe the overall top tackle prospect that season, and he kind of slipped to the top of the second round. I think he ended up going like 36 to the Jags or something. So he can play. He's got all the skill. I think when you get thrown into the Jags, that was a dumpster fire of an organization when he got there. And then he kind of got the quarterback, and they got the coach, and they kind of did a little something. I think he done a pretty good job blocking for Trevor Lawrence. I think with the Chiefs, he's going to continue to get better. He got better from year 2 to year 1. I'm hoping year 3 he gets a little better. But again, that's kind of that second round stigma. Everybody we drafted in the second round seems to never live up. And now we're not even getting guys off free agency from the second round that's living up to hype. Sky Moore. I'm a little tired of talking about the offensive line. I think we all know the offensive line has to perform. If the offensive line cannot keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket and comfortable, this high-flying offense that we all want to see is not going to happen. You mentioned McDuffie earlier. Said if it came down to McDuffie or Trey Smith, you'd have taken McDuffie.
Hands down.
The Chiefs have not shown a commitment to pay corner very often.
Since my favorite player of all time, Eric Berry. Well, just anybody in the secondary, DB, right, safety, nickelback, anything.
That was changed a little bit this offseason, in my opinion. They paid Christian Fulton a decent contract. Do you think he's going to be CB2? There's a lot of people on a lot of platforms. Our content goes out to a lot of platforms. You would be very surprised at how much they took offense to me saying that Christian Fulton was going to be CB2 this year.
I think he's for sure going to be. He excels at the press. He excels at pushing people around. He doesn't excel when you back the corners off. I think he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, I think he's definitely going to be quarterback 2. What history shows us is that they don't play homegrown talent. the ones that they draft, but they'll bring a guy in. Like they brought in Reed, they brought in the Honey Badger, you know what I mean? But it's rare that they pay their homegrown guys. But I will say, everybody that I know that might be in the know, I can't say too much more, but people that are in the know around the Chiefs organization have said that ever since he was drafted, the word has been he's going to be the next one to be signed past Eric Berry. Like he's going to be the next guy. Now, with the market going so high up, maybe that changes. I don't know, but
yeah, I tend to think he's going to be different, right? I mean, that's a guy that you traded up for in the first round, so you've invested more in him than you have in a lot of these cornerbacks that we have in the past. L'Jarius Sneed was a safety we drafted in the 4th round. Right.
And
so,
he always got hurt.
Right.
You know, McDuffie never gets hurt.
Charvarius Ward was a UDFA. Like, these guys were not guys that we invested a lot in. We got so much out of guys that we probably shouldn't have got out of them just because of having a good defensive back coach like Dave Merritt or just by good scouting. We got a lot out of those guys. But as far as corner in particular, I think the last one we actually paid, not counting guys that come in from the outside like Christian Fulton, but Brandon Flowers, we gave him a huge contract. He was gone by year 2 of the contract. I think that's definitely a different situation with Trent McDuffie. It's not the same. It's not a guy that you got in the 7th round and hit a home run with like Jalen Watson. It's not a UDFA like Charvarius Ward that showed out. You got a guy you invested in heavily. So I think that you try to protect that. That's just my opinion.
That's the one guy that I would want to keep. But I would understand with the market spiking so much if they didn't do that.